So education is a key point, and we're failing our children here.
Completely.
There's a gap that continues to widen between white and the black and brown children, and white children continue to exceed expectations, and they more than double scores with black and brown students on math and reading, even when they're in elementary school. What are your ideas and what are your proposals to address the education gap in Montgomery County and avoid success by your zip code?
So I'll just give you a little bit of background. So I have three daughters here in Montgomery County Public Schools. I have a 12-year-old, 10-year-old, and a 6-year-old. So two of them go to Glen Allen Elementary School here on Randolph Road, and the other one goes to the newly named Odessa Shannon, which was renamed recently. My wife is actually on the committee to rename that. But that being said, I'm on the Black and Brown Coalition for Educational Equity and Excellence. So we've been working with the NAACP and Identity to solve exactly what you're bringing up. There's so many factors that come into play, and obviously the majority of them are socioeconomic factors. One of the biggest things really is early childhood education. Like, I believe that is going to be the biggest key, and that's going to be the biggest thing that as a county we're going to have to fight for, to make sure that we give access to early childhood education for everyone. I'm a middle class, person, and with my three daughters, putting them into preschool was almost a hardship. You're paying what most people pay for rent, to send your kid to school for, 8 hours. Most people can't afford it. And then if you're lower income, then you qualify for Head Start, which is only 3 hours, 4 hours a day. That's not enough education for a child. And through the Black and Brown Coalition, through the statistics and the studies, the foundation that you lay for a child when they're in pre-kindergarten, before kindergarten, has, it's been proven the value is exponential. It lasts throughout the entire education cycle of that person. And we have to invest. And it goes back to economic development. We have to have educated people here. We have to have a pool of educated people that's going to draw. So to me, it's not an expense. It's an investment in our future. It's an investment in our teachers. In our students. And that's something that we definitely have to focus on. So that's just one aspect of it. Another aspect of it is that it's not so much the money that we put into the system, it's the way that we use the money. We put $3 billion, into our school system. It's a lot of money. But we found, one of the things we found in the studies was that it didn't matter if a student was in Bethesda, if a student was in Gaithersburg, the Latinos graduated at the same rates as, the whites, the Caucasians. And the rates we saw across the board, the rates were the same. So it wasn't about where you lived. And sometimes they were getting the same money. Obviously, there's factors like with the PTA where there's more fundraising and things like that. But a lot of times they have the same tools, and there's other factors where we found the study showed that usually the Black and Brown students were, had teachers that weren't as experienced, and a lot of times it's because a lot of times the teachers that have more experience have more flexibility as to where they can teach, So there's a lot of factors that are not related to money. It's related to policy. So we also have to concentrate on our policy. And obviously that's a little bit more on the Board of Education side, because we just, we handle the budget, but it's something that we can definitely advocate for. But I'm very worried. I have 3 Latina daughters, and I want to make sure, right now they're getting straight A's. But the thing is, I can sit with my daughter and do her homework. And if I'm somewhere out and about, I've sat right now on the campaign trail. I've sat in my car and Zoomed with my daughter, helping her with homework. I have that ability. I have a smartphone. I have the tech savviness to do that. I'm not sitting behind a kitchen. I'm not sitting in an office building, cleaning a building. I'm not sitting in a job, whatever it is, an IT job where I just can't get away to help my child. So knowing the challenges that we have, we need to make sure that we change our policy so that we don't leave these kids behind. And I'll give you another example that I talk about. This is personally, AP courses. My mom went to fourth grade. My dad was illiterate, never went to school. He learned how to read and write here in Washington, D.C. at these like nonprofits. So when I went to school, I was straight A students. I got great grades. And then they offered me AP. I had no clue what AP was. My parents had no clue what AP was, advanced placement courses. And so I would ask my friends, what's advanced placement? And, someone like, well, it's more homework. You have to take a test and this and that. And I was like, why would I want that? I don't want to risk my A's. I didn't realize I was going to get credits for college, and that was going to be something that was going to motivate, maybe not me, because my parents were definitely pushing me and they could afford college because I went to the University of Maryland, but other students who maybe don't have that vision for going to college or going to the university, if they have 12 credits sitting there, that's motivation. And that's also a key to getting into these colleges. When you apply to these colleges and you have a bunch of AP courses, they're going to look at you in a much better light. But obviously, sometimes even the counselors are failing these kids because they don't understand that these kids don't understand the system, that the parents don't understand the system, that they don't understand the importance of taking advanced placement classes or applying or trying to get grants or trying to, they don't understand this process. But you have people that have been here generationally, maybe for 150 years, their whole family has gone to college and they know how the system works. But the thing is, we know that these kids don't have that background. But knowing that, we have to be more proactive. We have to do the jobs, unfortunately, that traditionally the parents do. So my kids are going to go to college if they decide to. Obviously, I hope they all do. I'm saving money. I'm saving money for them. Otherwise, I'm going to take a really nice vacation. Once my 6-year-old, graduates high school and decides she doesn't want to go to college. But there's a lot of challenges. But I think it all comes down to policy. So for me, I testified in front of the Board of Education on several occasions. I'm friends, with Board of Education, members, and I have that dialogue, with them, with identity, with NAACP, and it's something that I'm going to continue because I have vested interest in this. I mean, I have 3 daughters, but it's not just about my 3 daughters. It's really all of the kids that don't have the benefit that my daughters have, and I will tell you another thing that's crazy in my district. 42% of the people in my district don't have access to broadband. It's crazy because that's a tool that they need to better themselves. And when 42% do not have access to broadband, it's unacceptable, especially since there's money from the federal government for this. Like, we could be asking and fighting for money for the federal government to make sure that all these students, and not just students, somebody that wants to get into the IT field, they should have access to this as well. So there's so many things, that obviously I have a lot of work cut out for me, and I'm very passionate about education. But, as a county council member, we approve the budget. But obviously, we have a lot of weight when it comes to a lot of the advocacy. And I've already been doing that. And, as a county council member, I plan to, I'll have a bigger hammer, so.